Alright, you degenerates, listen up. I'm gonna tell you the story about why archers become bards, because this is real official lore that I totally didn't make up, but it's gonna make a lot of sense, and by the end of this video, you're gonna be like, wow, I totally understand why bards are come from archers, or whatever. Okay, so listen up, here's the story. Okay, let's start off by talking about the archer's kit here. We got a bow and arrow. This thing's gonna hunt you down. If you're lost in the woods and you're not prepared, you're gonna get sniped. Archers are absolute chads. No doubt about it in my mind, okay? And then we have these guys. It might seem that these bards here are not combat ready. That's where you're wrong. Bards might seem to lack the battle strength on the surface, but deep down, they're way more powerful because they can form an army of our peers in Limsa Limsa. These people were about to get it on, and now they're listening to this band. And maybe some of them are doing both. But that's besides the point, okay? The bard's greatest ability is to win the hearts and minds of the people. The hearts and minds, they bring people together. They have true power. Even the most power-hungry villains are envious of what these bands have. And the archer can't quite do that. Okay, now let's talk about how the archers became the bards, because it seems kind of like a weird transition. Anyone that's played any kind of MMO or really an RPG, it kind of seems bizarre that the archer becomes the bard in this game. Like, those are two separate things, but it all makes sense. Now let's talk about the great archer conflict that happened in Gridania. Now, deep in the forest, there's a great conflict between two factions. One side, you had Cecil Gragan, and on the other side, you had Chuck Blueberg. Now, Chuck Blueberg and Cecil Gragan both had very powerful archers and armies. Their primary way of combat was archery. And for years, they killed each other with arrows going right overhead. Pew, 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 pew. And killing tons of archers on the battlefield. But there was a great wizard in the forest who said, I gotta stop this war. And what's the best way to do it? I'm gonna wail on my guitar. I'm gonna bust my guitar out and start shredding. So the wizard did just that, except it didn't work. It did nothing. So he's like, you know what's better than shredding on a guitar? A rave. I'm gonna invite both parties to a rave, and once they're there, they're not gonna know that they're both invited, and I'm gonna party them up so hard they'll have to come together. They'll have to become one force. And so the great wizard called up his buddies at Rain nightclub and said, boys, we gotta get this club together. We gotta get this party bumping. I'm gonna be inviting like a lot of people over. There's gonna be like a ton of people at this party, and it's gonna be the sickest time you've ever seen. And so over at the club, they're like, yeah. So like any party, people are a little bit sloshed before they show up there. They're pre-gamed with their buddies, and they show up at the nightclub. So during the night, everyone's having a good time. They're dancing it out, having a party, and then all of a sudden, someone realizes, hey, this guy's in the opposite faction. We gotta brawl it out. But they didn't have their bow and arrows. All they had was their instruments, their little lutes to serenade each other. They don't got their bow and arrows, but they do have their instruments. So the battle looked a little something like this. Yeah, and so anyways, that's why we have bards now.